I'm Sander van Zanten, and I am audio director at Keoken Interactive. And for the past 6 or 7 years, we've been working on Deliver Us the Moon, and after that, Deliver Us Mars. And that second game, Deliver Us Mars, came out recently, earlier this year, together with Bas, excellent sound designer here. I had the pleasure of handling the audio for this game.
So what did you do? Like, did you do music or sound effects, or can you tell a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, everything that has to do with audio came through our hands. So whether it's music composition and implementation, whether it's sound design for big rockets taking off, or something as simple as like footsteps or doors opening and closing, machines beeping and blooping, voiceover, there's a bit of direction, there's a lot of editing, a lot of implementation. Systems needed to be designed and programmed, which was a great collaboration with our programming team in order to get that. Everything that makes any sound whatsoever through the game is what we worked on.
So all the sounds in the game are made by yourself?
Some sounds are so exotic and so hard to come by that is better left off to people who specialize. At other times, we resorted to synthesis. So for example, at the start of the game, I'll try to avoid any spoilers, but at the start of the game, there is, you got this big, huge machine taking off, and Bas actually went out and synthesized most of the sound of that. And it is such an overwhelming and amazing sound, and he just created that from scratch. It was such an incredible thing.
Sometimes you see like these sound designers doing something totally different than the sound is actually supposed to portray in a game. Is there something like that you have used for Deliver Us Mars?
Oh, yeah. The first example that comes to mind is Ayla, your companion. She sounds robot-y and cutesy. That is actually the sound of my cats. It's not a robot at all. It's not even synthesized. It's really just my cats processed and mangled in all sorts of manners in order to create that sound.
You were also working with voice actors. How do you find these people?
You can find them in a great many places. We have an existing network of voice actors. We also reached out to some casting agencies to help us find the right combination of expertise of voice actors, because this time around we needed to do performance capture as well, and that is also just a whole skill on itself.
Yeah.
So we were looking for people who could do both, you know, the voice acting and the physical acting inside the performance capture stage. We reached out to casting agencies to help us to find the right people.
And those people all came here, or did they also like did some work remotely? How do you go about something like that?
Yeah, most of it was recorded in London at the Trui and Molyneux studios. Trui is a performance capture studio where they just have these huge volumes, spaces where you can record motion capture. Molyneux is an audio supplier, and they handled the recordings on site. So during the performance capture sessions, they would be there to capture all the audio. And then later on, a couple months later, we did just the voice acting sessions, because not everything in the game is performance captured.
Yeah.
It's just the big cinematics that have that. And all the other in-game dialogue, we recorded that separately at the Molyneux studios also in London. And then there was a small portion of the VO which we recorded right here in the Netherlands, because some of our actors were local here.
You make a game, right? What's the point where you're gonna add sounds? Because like it's hard to like think of what needs to sound beforehand, but it's also weird to like have the whole game ready and then not have sounds for anything at all. Like, what's the point that you're gonna like add sound effects and stuff like that into a game?
At the very beginning, always, we start immediately. And that is because making games is a very iterative process. So when we create a sound, at first you start to develop a palette and develop a style. And this was the sequel of our first game, so we already were quite certain about the direction we needed to go in. But still, there were a lot of new things to figure out, systems to design. We wanted to do something new with the music. There are all sorts of things that we wanted to experiment with, and being able to join the development process right from the start is an incredible blessing for any audio designer, because you just have the time to get in early, get some tryouts going, and just iterate upon it and improve upon it. It just doesn't stop until the day you release.
So you have like after a release, right? They usually go over bug fixes and stuff like that. Does that happen with audio too? Do you need to like work on audio things, or are audio things usually kind of like okay after release?
Bas and I, we try to be very diligent, and I am very pleased to say that there are very little audio bugs on the shipped version. But that is the result of quite a process, because we had a lot of audio bugs. They were all over the place because it's just a very complicated thing creating a game, and there were so many things that we wanted to do and accomplish that, yeah, we spent months polishing and fixing bugs, especially since we also released on several different platforms, so not just on PC, but also PlayStation 4 and 5, and Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X. There are a lot of similarities between these, but also so many fundamental differences that
also just for audio.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, for example, not so long before we shipped, we had to overhaul our entire VO implementation system because it just did not work on Xbox One.
Oh,
and that was just because the way the sound files were being loaded into memory, the Xbox One just couldn't handle that. And on more modern hardware, that was fine. It wasn't an issue. Everything worked as intended. So we never caught that earlier on as a problem. But then as we started to get things going on Xbox One, we noticed, hang on, why? VO is out of sync, sometimes it doesn't play, what's going on here? And it just takes a lot of troubleshooting and pinpointing problems in order to find a solution to such things. So yeah, a lot of bug fixing, both before and after release, but luckily the brunt of the work has been completed before.
What's like your favorite sound that you ever recorded?
Honestly, I gotta say that the favorite sound, at least in this game, is not mine. It's the one Buzz made for the arc as it rises. It's such an incredibly powerful and overwhelming sound. At the same time, I'm trying to think of something very small because there's beauty in the small things. From a musical perspective, we introduce very layered, thick, lush chords, and we have some very close harmonies in the string sections that we employ during some cinematics. So I've grown really fond of these. I would say these two are my favorites, yeah.
What is your favorite game, music and sound-wise?
I cannot name a single favorite game, but games that have inspired me from an audio perspective are definitely God of War, the Warcraft franchise, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima. I would say that these four are perhaps the games that have influenced me the most in terms of audio. Hades as well, super inspiring.
The thing about audio is like, there's a lot of things you need to think about, like little footsteps and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people overlook that when they play a game, but as soon as it's not there, you're gonna instantly notice. You just don't know what is missing. The game just doesn't feel right without the audio. You're gonna miss it if it's not there.
It's like the bass player in a band.
Yeah.
You don't notice him when he's there, but when he's not there, it's like, why is this so flat? Why am I missing a very important dimension? And what is that? Why is it missing? We gotta have audio.
Yeah.
We gotta have a lot of audio.
Well, thank you for doing such a good job on the audio.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for
Appreciate
the interview.